Welcome everyone to the second in a series of short records management training sessions from Team IM. In this session, we're going to go through the process of creating a records management file plan that can be approved by the business and used to configure records management in M-Files. In our last session, we learned that from a records management perspective, we want to think of every organization as the sum of its transactions, regardless of whether it's a nonprofit, a government entity, a financial institution, or in this example, a manufacturing organization. Each transaction may be accompanied by some kind of paperwork, such as a customer order, work order, packing list, or an invoice. We learned about the problems with using a folder-based system for labeling and classifying these documents, and how records management in M-Files tags the files with metadata, which is then used to drive the browsing and search experience for the end users, in addition to controlling the records management policies. Using the metadata associated with each document type, we began to build a file plan that includes the trigger information to tell us what to use to calculate retention. In this session, we will build out a small file plan and show how that file plan translates into actual records management policies in M-Files. To develop a good file plan, a records manager needs to account for each transaction in the organization. In our example, we built out the start of a file plan, but we'll need to take a more organized approach if we're going to implement records management across a large organization. One way to do this is to work with each department and develop parts of the file plan with a single department at a time. So a good next step is to add the department to each document type so we can begin working with one department at a time. Within each department, we identify documents that are tied to their transactions, and we decide how long each type of document needs to be kept. The department can then easily review just their section of the file plan and not be overwhelmed. They can also see the rest of the file plan with all the transactions so they can validate transactions that may be shared with other departments. Completing the file plan will likely take several reviews by every department. As we work with the department, the file plan will continue to increase in size. In this case, we added a few more types of documents for the finance group. In a real implementation, there will be many document types for each department, but working at a department level provides a way to ensure incremental success and measurable completion for what at first might seem like an overwhelming task. Using this simple example, let's examine what's necessary to convert this into a records management configuration in M-Files. Using invoices from our file plan, we'll make our very first policy. It helps to think about our policy in two parts. The first part determines what type of documents are included in this policy, and the second part determines the retention that should be applied to those documents. We break them apart like this because it's very common to have the same retention applied to different types of documents, so the category or type of retention can be set up once and reused many times. Using the row from our file plan for invoices, let's look in M-Files and see how a policy would be set up. In M-Files, a records management policy is a special class object. The purpose of the policy in M-Files is to represent a row from the file plan, so the policy will have information to determine which files should be included, in this case invoices, and also when those invoices should be destroyed, which is 7 years after they were created. The policy name can be anything you'd like, but we recommend that the name tells you what types of documents belong to the policy. The category defines the retention category or type of retention that this policy will enforce. This is the right half of the row from the file plan. In the next session, we'll take a closer look at how retention categories are defined. For now, we just need to know that the policy establishes the category of retention that should be applied to the documents that are part of the policy. The classes property determines which document class or classes are part of this policy. In this case, it's just the financial document class, but it's common to combine multiple classes of documents into a single policy. The trigger property is used to define a subset of financial documents that should be included in the policy. It can be thought of as a filter. Only documents which meet a certain criteria will be included in this policy. Trigger criteria can be set up against any metadata in the system, and this will be covered in detail in the next session as well. As you can see here, it's common to have the same class of document assigned to different policies based on some metadata attribute that's been assigned to the document. In this case, the document type property is used to further refine the financial documents and assign them to different policies. As we wrap up this session on assigning policies, it's worthwhile to highlight the importance of developing a good file plan. The upfront effort of developing a good file plan will make it very easy to set up records management policies in mFiles. In the next session, we'll explore the retention category and triggers in more detail. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next session. We look forward to helping you on your records management and compliance adventure. If you'd like more information about how your organization can benefit from a modern electronic records management implementation, please contact Team IM.